break, Agnifilo said, the direct went more negative than we expected. There are theories that Ms. Ventura was just not permitted to be creative. The judge says, in the future, could you submit that overnight? Cool. The judge says, in defense of submission, in their defense submission over the weekend, the defense argued about the album cover that was relevant. Right, Ms. Shapiro? That's what Alexandra Shapiro covered. She said, yes. It says, Ms. Ventura is topless with her arm crossed. So and the judge says, let's have Mrs. Clark come back. All right, so look like they're gonna. Who's Mrs. Clark? We're gonna have to figure that out. Anyway, they bring the jury back in, and Agnifilo says, when you went into the park, it was to tavern. What? It was to tavern on the green. What the hell? So we parked there. We parked there early in the day in the park. We ran into Nas. What the fuck? Diddy ran into Nas? Okay. So when you said he had Miss Ventura's spin, who was there? Let me show you what you said. You said Lauren Gibson was there. Capricorn Clark says, they misheard me. Says, when did you first meet Cassie? So I met her with Ryan Leslie. Then it was said, why did you not get along with Cassie sometimes? Capricorn Clark says, in 2008, she got more bravado before being his girlfriend. The longer it lasted, she thought I was being paid to help her. By the way, chat, let me tell you this. This story is as old as time. I've had a bunch of girlfriends. I got a bunch of employees. When any girl of significant value to my life show up around my employees or workplace, they think they're the boss like I'm the boss. Like, they talk to my employees like they hire them. And I get it. A lot of females' perspective is, that's my man. Who's your boss? So I'm your boss. That's the thing, chat. Trust me. When wifey of the boss pulls up, she talks to you as you better give her the same respect you give to the boss. Or else she start withholding that pussy from that nigga. She start bitching to him. You're going to get in trouble. You could lose your job. So that happens a lot. Also, sometimes it's angling as well when it comes to women and women. Because a woman will start angling towards other women to let you know, hey, I know that's your boss, but I'm the head bitch. If I'm not getting that respect, they take very subtle things as disrespect. Oh, she usually say she's my, I don't know, editor. When I tell her to edit something, she usually edits A, B, and C. Now, my girl comes to the job and asks her questions about editing. And they give a vague answer because they don't feel they have to give a real answer. All of a sudden, you got your girl telling you, you got to fire that bitch. Yo, she feeling herself. I was asking about stuff. She act like she don't know what's going on. So it's like, I understand that. And if you've ever been in that situation, you probably know what that's about, right? So Capricorn Clark felt the type of way because she's looking at Cassie. She was there before Cassie was ever his girlfriend. She knew Cassie when Cassie was Ryan Leslie's girlfriend. So she's seen Cassie being elevated from side chick all the way to now the main chick. And she's saying that Cassie's changing on how she's acting with her. Cassie's probably acting like she's more of the boss or whatever the case is. And it was like, to the point, she's like, she thought my job was to help her. Keep in mind, her job is to help Diddy. AOSA says objection. The judge sustains. Agnifilo says, what did you see? Capricorn Clark says she went from being a sweet model to a feisty girlfriend. Agnifilo says, do you think she was talented? Clark says she had talent. She was very beautiful. He said, but not talented? He said, she was not. He said, have good taste. Talent to me is Whitney Houston. Oh, shit, trying to shit on Cassie. Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. Cassie, she was more of a studio musician. She needed things equalized. Agnifilo says, did she perform live? Well, a couple times. Not the greatest. Agnifilo says, was she a hard worker? So at times. Agnifilo says, why wasn't she a hard worker? Clark says she preferred to be with her boyfriend. When we moved to LA after Kim had the twins, 2009-ish, I saw her developing more of a relationship with Puff. Mr. Combs, that is. Agnifilo says he supported her. Clark says yes, with stylists, other musicians, all the components to make a star. Agnifilo says, did she get help more than others? He says yes. Young Jock had a group of Young Jock in groups from Atlanta. I developed French Montana. Clark says, I ran into Cassie. She says she had a new deal with Epic. I dressed her like David Bowie. We did photo shoots at my house. We wrote a mini movie and shot it for the project. Agnifilo says, what about Official Girl? Clark says it was a super cute video. Agnifilo says, King of Hearts? Says, yes, it was fresh. Puff liked it. Agnifilo says, Cassie had a green wig, right? So yeah. We move to admit this witness, well, I guess maybe something into evidence, says there's a sealing issue. Ignifilo says, you don't remember this email? She says, I don't. Says, well, so Ignifilo said, here in 2012, you were setting up a recording session for Cassie, and CC Capricorn Clark says, yeah, Mario Winans was, it was for the chairman. Ignifilo says, was it for Mr. Combs? Capricorn Clark says, yes. He says, when did you learn about Cassie and Kid Cudi? Fall of 2011. I picked her up there. Agnifilo says, you believe that after Thanksgiving, Miss Ventura and Kid Cudi were what? Getting to know each other, Capricorn Clark says. Agnifilo says, why'd you get a burner phone at Best Buy? Cece says, well, I told her, you can't do this on your bad boy phone. Agnifilo says, how did you learn about burner phones? Cece says, I grew up in Los Angeles. Agnifilo says, in December 2011, Mr. Combs was at an orphanage in Almaty, Kazakhstan? Cece says, yeah, I heard it was in Russia. Agnifilo says, how did you get Combs into your building? Says, I was told, so how did Mr. Combs get into your building? Capricorn Clark says, I was told the security guard got fired. So what was his name? He said, some random security guard. Agnifilo says, what did he look like? He was a black guy, but was younger than 35. Then it was said, what was Mr. Combs doing with the gun? Remember, this is when Diddy shows up to her spot with the gun saying, yo, Cassie's fucking Kid Cudi. Capricorn Clark said he had it in his hand. Agnifilo says, he wasn't pointing at you? Cece says, no. Agnifilo says, but you told the government he pointed at you. Cece says, it says, or wave around. I think that's more correct. He waved it around. So now she's changing her statement. Didn't point at her, but he was waving the gun around. Agnifilo says, yo, where did you change into your street clothes? Capricorn Clark says, in my closet. Agnifilo says, isn't it true you went Is it true you went so that Mr. Combs wouldn't do something stupid? She said, no, I went because he said he didn't care. I didn't want to go. So she's making the argument that she was forced to go, not that she went to prevent him from doing something dumb when Diddy was going to go to Kid Cudi's crib. Wait. Sorry, I got to clear my throat. Pause. Agnifilo says, Diddy's a jealous guy? Capricorn Clark says, yeah, he got a bad temper. Agnifilo says, to the Escalade, did you pass a security guard? He says, yeah, I saw him in his little hut. So when she was leaving her place to get into the Escalade with Diddy to go to Kid Cudi's crib, supposedly they saw the security guard. It says, Mr. Combs was behind the driver with a gun in his lap. You made a call, right? She says, not then. Agnifilo says, did you look at Kid Cudi's door to see if they could get through it? Capricorn Clark says, I wasn't really paying attention. I was so in my head trying to plan my next step. I was praying Cudi was not there. Agnifilo says, did Cassie have 2 rooms? Clark says, Cudi took her to one room. She had another. Okay? Okay. Agnifilo says, you're 100% sure that you called and told them Puff had a gun? She said, yes. I said it very quickly. I didn't want Puff to see me on the phone. Agnifilo says, you said you saw Lauren London. Did you say that Lauren London was on the phone with you, Cassie, and Cudi? No, only part of the time. So apparently Lauren London was on the phone with Cassie and Cudi on a 3-way call. It says, I wanted someone to know where I was at. And said, well, what did you tell her? I'm scared of mountain lions. It says, mountain lions? He says, I don't know if you know the Hollywood Hills coyotes. Maybe Lauren was on the phone. Maybe. It was such a long time ago. He said, are you aware that Lauren and Mr. Combs were friends for years after this? She said, yes. Okay. Agnifilo says, then you see a Porsche coming up the hill. Capricorn Clark says, yes, Kid Cudi's in a black Porsche. By the way, that's a black Porsche that eventually gets blown up or firebombed later. He stops next to us and he speeds off. We chase him. Then he loses us. We turn away. Then we see police pass us. Agnifilo says, so you go pick up Cassie and go where? So we went to Kid Cudi's house. There was ADT there. Agnifilo said, sorry. Agnifilo says, then you go to Mr. Combs' house and you say you seen Mr. Combs kicking Cassie there, even in the street? Capricorn Clark says, yes. Wow. I don't know. All right. Okay. Okay, okay. All right. Someone said, act, fix your throat, please. Pause. A little bit of alcohol and Red Bull do it. Okay. So this is around 2011, 2012. Cassie's been fucking with Kid Cudi. Diddy finds out. Goes to Capricorn Clark's spot. Get mad at her. I believe he found out through phone records. Why you ain't tell me my bitch is cheating on me? Capricorn Clark used to work for Diddy. She gets scared. He's like, yo, we're about to go to this nigga's crib. Now, here's the thing. Later on, Cassie, Kid Cudi did admit, not later on, but Kid Cudi admitted when he was on the stand, when they said, how did Diddy get your address? She said that Cassie gave the address. So I'm not sure if maybe Diddy, Diddy's with Capricorn Clark waving around a gun mad. Maybe Diddy's on Cassie's line going crazy on her too. And like, yo, tell me where that nigga live at. Now she know Kid Cudi not at the crib, but let's say she gives the nigga's house anyway, which I just think is backdoor vibes. Like, why would you ever give the address of somebody to anybody else? That's just backdoor vibes. Anyway. All right. All right. Agnifilo says, you hung up on the fire inspector? Capricorn Clark said, I did. Agnifilo says, when you were on vacation, it was with who? Clark says, remember Miss Clark above? That's Capricorn Clark. I'm fucking stupid. I keep thinking about Capricorn. I forget Capricorn is not a real name, right? Is that a real name? Or like a stage name? It gotta be a real name, right? Capricorn Clark, whatever. Okay. Agnifilo says, when you were on vacation, who was it with? Rihanna. It says, after you were fired, what job did you get? It says, I was hired by Chris Lighty to work for 50 Cent. Now, I think a lot of this is going to make sense because the idea that Diddy was waving around a gun and talking about 50 probably has something to do with Capricorn going to work. By the way, you know what's so interesting? Let me see if I can find a video of her. So Capricorn Clark, yo, she's too much linking with the ops. Like, think about this. Her, like, best friend's relative or, like, her family's whatever is linked with Suge Knight. She works with Diddy. She gets fired from Diddy, or she leaves, and then she works with 50. And she comes back each time. So she's working with everybody Diddy don't like. I wonder why Diddy let her around. Diddy, she worked with Suge Knight. She has familial ties there. Why hire her? Then you threaten her, you tell her you're going to kill her. Then she basically afterwards goes to work with 50. Interesting.
The federal sex trafficking news legal. This is specified Combs broke into his home after finding out he was dating his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. Mescudi also claimed Combs was behind an attack that set his car on fire just weeks later. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman has been following this trial for us, and she's back at the courthouse this morning in Lower Manhattan. Katrina, good morning to you. What can we expect to hear from the prosecution today?
Good morning, Errol. Today we are expecting to hear from Capricorn Clark. She is one of Sean Combs' former assistants, but she also worked her way up to being an executive at his company. So the other former personal assistants we've heard from so far, Errol, worked with him for brief periods of time. This is someone who was with Combs for many years, and we've been hearing her name on the stand quite a bit. For example, in the Kid Cudi story, or Scott Mescudi that you were just talking about, he spoke about
Okay, so this is her back in the day. Chad, for whatever reason, I could see Diddy like fucking her on the side type shit. Now, I think Diddy gay, but I do think like I have a weird theory about Diddy. I don't think Diddy like pussy, period. But I do think Diddy loves power and control. And the thing with women is that you gotta fuck them. Like, if you don't fuck them, they're not gonna, like, as much money as you have, they won't, to the level of control he wants, it's not gonna be like that. So you gotta fuck them and they gotta love you. So I think Diddy used to fuck all these women. I think Diddy's gay as a $2 bill. I think Diddy's like Saucy Santana in my book. He's like Frank Ocean. But he gotta fuck these people because what he craves more than personal relationships or anything is power and control. And these women who look at him in a role of having power, it's taken to a different level when he fucks them. So I think he's fucking them for power. I don't think he's fucking them because he likes pussy. I think he likes semen. I think he likes men, honestly.
An incident where he believes that Combs broke into his house and he had received a call from Capricorn Clark, this assistant we're going to hear from today, or former assistant, saying that she had been forced to come to the house, that Combs and one of his associates were inside at the time. She was also CC'd on a message that we saw. Cassie Ventura had sent it to her mother, Regina Ventura, and this was a message where she was saying that Combs had threatened her and Mescudi, and that he was saying that he was going to release explicit sex tapes about her if her mother didn't give him $20,000, which her mother did at the time. Combs did return that money, but this should be a very interesting witness, Errol, because Combs' assistants were so close to him and have really shared significant details about his environment, and she's also important for corroborating a number of stories we've been hearing on the stand.
All right, Katrina Kaufman, with the latest, we will be checking in with you throughout the day. Thanks, Katrina.
Okay, all right. Have we ever heard Capricorn Clark speak? Because it's kind of interesting. It looks like she was... Now, I think... Here's the thing. See, I got to debate somebody about this because I don't want to just talk, like, without having a rebuttal. I believe these people's integrity and their credibility is being challenged by the prosecutor. If this guy is such a monster, such an abuser, he used to put hands on you, why in the fuck, as of last year, you were trying to get a job with him and he had to literally, the only reason why you weren't hired, they said, we can't hire you right now because of the investigation. Now you're on the stand testifying that this guy is all of these things. So you stopped working for Diddy back in 2016, right? 2016 is 2025. It's 9 years. And up until 2024, because you wanted to work for him, you didn't fully process your pain, your whatever. You only processed it when the police came in. Because last year you was trying to get a job. That kind of do sound a little crazy. It kind of do. I'm going to be honest with you.
Right now, we want to transition as we are following the very latest of the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. It takes us out to the Big Apple, giving you a beautiful skyline shot there in New York City. Sean Diddy Combs will return to court today as his sex trafficking trial resumes after the holiday weekend. This after rapper Kid Cudi wrapped up his testimony last week. Fox 5 New York's Briella Tomasetti joining us live this morning outside of the Manhattan Federal Courthouse with the very latest details. Briella, good morning.
Good morning to you, Gina. And when court resumes at around 9:30 this morning, another one of Diddy's former personal assistants, Capricorn Clark, is set to testify, and she could be...
Okay, we did get that. I'm looking for anything with Capricorn Clark. Interview. I wonder why she never took the job. Like, if it appeared, if she went back to try to get a job with Diddy last year, looked like she's strapped for cash, right? Remember she kept saying, she said on the stand, no one would hire her. Why hasn't she, done the interview circuit? Like, this interview circuit that Jaguar Wright and everybody else would be, that are on, that would probably help her out a little bit more. We'll give her more money. Where could we? So we don't have no interviews of her. We need it, chat. We need it. We
His
played
partners.
this, right?
So other people for one time, a week after Cap, I don't think highly.
Okay, her shit is Capadonna. Capadonna. But I think her shit is private. Right? Yep, it's private. Nothing really to see here. Come on.
His partners.
We like I can't really get a read on them. Does anyone have any more information about Capricorn? Because I do think she's important. Capricorn Clark. Here we go.
Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here in front of the other Southern District of New York courthouse. Today, Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. We're halfway through the day, and it's been Capricorn Clark all day on the stand. On direct, she described a number of incidents, including being kidnapped with a gun in the car to Kid Cudi's house, where she called Cassie on the burner phone. She also described in great detail being accused of having stolen jewelry from Jacob the Jeweler. I think this was during a white party at the Hamptons. She had the jewels, and then she didn't have the jewels, and for 5 straight days she was taken to an empty office building on Broadway and given a lie detector test by a guy she said was as big as 2 linebackers, but she didn't know his name. The idea being that if she failed the test, she would be dumped in the East River. This was the quote. Now, when we broke for lunch, she had sort of broken down at the beginning of the cross-examination by Mark Agnifilo, the lead attorney for Sean Combs. He's usually a pretty kind of Columbo-like cross-examiner, but he got to her by saying, you had a crush on him, didn't you? And she said, I mean, she called him Chalk, as in chocolate, apparently. But she also said that he was he'd broken the glass ceiling and was quite an entrepreneur. So we'll see how she collects herself. The lunch break is longer than usual. The government has said that their case may be done in 5 weeks rather than 6. There was a sigh of relief among many of the journalists, but we're covering it. We're also covering. We came over here to 40 to cover some other cases. There's a tennis pro tour case about threats made to players, apparently, for starting another union. There's a Malcolm X case, and there's another criminal case that we came to check. Might as well, since we're out here, show behind us the tall building there. That's where the U.S. Attorney's office now. That's where they're planning out their day's direct presentations, and now apparently it's going to be shorter than they thought. But where's it all headed? Well, check out Inner City Press. We're putting stuff on Patreon. We did this morning. Putting stuff on Substack. We have a book about week 2, and there'll be one about week 3. But we've got to go back in for the cross of Capricorn Clark. Inner City Press. We continue.
Okay. Right. So that's happening. By the way, remember, chat, we are getting an update. This trial is really slated to end. It's slated to end before July. So I guess good news, bad news? I think good news. We'll be done before July 4th. You know, I was thinking that this may go on into maybe early or late July or early August, but it looks like, you know, if there's about like 3-4 more weeks of this, it's going to be end of June. So probably before July 4th. Now, granted, Diddy's life is in, you know, his freedom is at stake. If I'm him, I'm going to push the time back. You know, you got to take it from the Tory thing. Don't try to rush. Don't try to rush. By the way, chat, why the fuck am I trending on Twitter? Why am I trending? Okay. Don't try to rush you being, you know, your fate being handed down. You could wait a couple days or even a couple weeks. You want to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. Remember in Tory's case, they had a witness that they could have called, but it would have taken a few more days. And they said, no, we're good. He gets found guilty. You see he's going through a lot of hell to try to even get that reversed. Anyway, so now it says, hold on. All right. So it says, here you wrote to Mr. Combs, one day you'll forgive me. Anyway, be well. Oh, wow. So it looked like she was trying to apologize to him. You wrote on February 28th, your grace period to be mad at me has surpassed the agreed time, LOL. You wrote that. Chat, she was fucking him. She was fucking him. Chat, I know how conversations is when you giving dick, bro. That's not no just employee shit. Oh, your grace period to be mad at me is kind of like, no, that's light flirting. He was fucking her. That's it. By the way, if he was fucking her, I don't want to hear what she got to say. I got to keep it a being with you. Because I'm going to look at it the other way. Unless you're coming with freak off, he forced me to do freak off shit. What it then tells me, he was fucking with you consensually on both y'all parts, right? Because she's not claiming sexual abuse. He was fucking you. You were down with it. And everything that the government is trying to prove about him being a super sex trafficker, this and third, yeah, because of the rule of evidence, they're not gonna let Diddy's lawyers get into that. That's why they're saying objection. But Diddy was clearly fucking this woman too. And she don't have no story that's like Cassie's story. She don't have no story that's like anybody else's story. Not granted. Obviously, the government's case is that we're not trying to say he did the freak off or whatever to everybody, but he did do it to, well, they said they had about 4 or 5 victims. Well, 2 victims of sex trafficking and 3 other victims of, forced labor and one of prostitution or whatever the case is. Still, if I'm the defense, I want to show, because like this is how it plays out in the media, like this guy was sex trafficking everybody. No, it kind of shows that Diddy, if anything, sex addict. He's fucking pretty much every woman around him, right? Shit, I could imagine he's thinking, yo, shorty, I'm paying your bills anyway, even though I hired you. And some of these women end up, this is another thing too. Never let your woman go play personal assistant for another man. Over time, she gonna start liking that nigga. Facts. 100%. I'm telling you this is a fact. Trust. Your girl go be an assistant to another man. Trust me. You get what I'm saying? The power dynamic is just, she's going to start becoming attracted to who that person is and the significance that he holds. Even if it's like, trust me. She don't got to be physically, like, trust me. So, yeah. All right. Anyway, so she writes this message. Your grace period. And by the way, this is Agnifilo, if you ask me, being slick. So the government has objected, and they use a rule of evidence that Agnifilo can't mention that Diddy was fucking her. Diddy was fucking her. Like, bro, we could put 2 and 2 together. We're not fucking stupid. So that's what they're trying to throw into the air, but they're trying to do it in a shrewd way because the government objected and the judge shut it down the first time. So that's why they're mentioning, wait, did you send this message? Now, when I see this message, I'm like, oh, they're fucking. That's what Agnifilo was trying to do before lunch. So CC says, yes, sir. Agnifilo says, and by the way, chat, this is just my theory. You don't got to go with my theory. I think Diddy's fucking all these women. I think Diddy's fucking KK. That's why I think she's staying honest and holding it down. He's always going to love that girl. Or not love her, but like she's always going to be in his life. Like you can tell she's held down secrets for him. She's buried bodies, not necessarily bodies. She's covered up shit. She's going to hold him down. This chick used to be kind of like that until she probably saw Diddy like kind of was able to like throw her away. Diddy fired her. You know what I mean? Like, she probably felt like, all right, fuck this nigga now, right? Anyway. And by the way, I don't know if that extends to the males. Maybe he fucked the males too. I don't know. Like, again, I think Diddy's gay, so y'all don't got to believe me, but I know gay. Pause. That's extra pause. All right. So she said, yes, sir. Agnifilo says, read this one out loud. She says, I wrote, she was never my friend. She wanted me gone. I realized. Agnifilo says, so you think Cassie wanted you gone? Clark crying. Sorry, this is complicated for me. I felt I was Puff's protector. Chat. Story oldest time. She thinks she's in a competition with Cassie. Cassie thinks she's in a competition with Kim Porter. These were, like, I'm going to be honest with you, And I know the defense wants to say it because I see them going down a path that's always objected to. They really want to say, all these bitches love Puff. He's a billionaire. He's paying for all their lifestyles. And they're all competing with each other for him. Cassie only leaves when he calls Kim Porter the soulmate. This chick leaves after basically him and Cassie get over the Kid Cudi shit and they get rid of her. So she always thought, oh, Cassie don't want me around. This is all a bunch of like, Game of Thrones, House of Cards shit going on with the women who are all trying to be the closest to Diddy. If I'm the defense, that's how I'm painting it according to what's allowed in court based on, all these, evidentiary hearings or pre-trial evidentiary hearings. They can't put it in that perspective, but that's what I'm getting. So I'm getting. She said, this is complicated for me. Chat. Let me just see if we're using the same brain here. One in the chat if Diddy's fucking her or did. I'm not saying fuck her all the time, but he at least gave her a cock once in a while. Come on now. She might not be freak off worthy, but she got like bored in the office. He just approved 2 songs to go to the Billboard. You'll just set up something with 106 and Park. He would call her in. She would suck him off real quick. He would go to lunch. Like, come on, bro. You know what I'm talking about. 1 in the chat if you think he was at least fucking. 2 in the chat if you think it was just straight platonic. Come on. Come on. Okay, y'all smart. Yeah, I know y'all smart. Y'all smart. So, again, I think the defense has to use that angle. Yo, you were becoming jealous. They use it with Cassie. You were becoming jealous of Kim Porter. They got to use it with her. You were becoming jealous of Cassie. You get what I'm saying? All right. Capricorn Clark then says, I felt I was only gone and she was still there. And things were getting worse. I try to keep professionalism as a goal. Then Agnifilo says, so you thought you could be his protector. She says, it was to move the ball toward the goal, to inspire. Agnifilo says, did it hurt that he would only take her back because he would only take you back because Cassie wanted you back? She said, yes, I have no parents. My son is autistic. My stakes are higher. See, I don't even like that answer because it doesn't answer the question directly. They're asking, does it hurt your feelings that Diddy never really he didn't make the decision saying, I want her back. He only hired you back because his girl wanted you back. Remember that they're kind of like, low-key way painting this picture of jealousy. And they're basically saying, you had to feel some type of way that the only reason why you even came back was because Cassie approved it, not that Diddy wanted you. See, they're trying to give that angle, but they can't do it directly. Okay. Agnifilo says, just a few more minutes and we'll get you out by today. Capricorn Clark says, thank you, sir. Agnifilo says, you did a lot of great work with Cassie in 2016 and 2017, right? CC says, I believe so. It says, Cassie had addiction problems? She said, yes. Says, you made a short movie with her. She says, yeah, it was called Love a Loser. Says, you wrote to him asking for forgiveness? CC says, I wanted my life back, my dream, my competency. Agnifilo says, when you met with me, you wanted to work with him, so the him got to be Diddy. See, again, you see they're painting it in a really nonchalant way. Wait, you wrote to Diddy asking for his forgiveness? Now they're acting, you see, they can't mention it in a romantic way. So let me explain the federal rules of evidence. As someone who's on the stand, who's a witness, they can't intrude into her love life or personal things if she claims some of the abuse of what she's testifying to, she was party to or may have been affected by, right? It's like, for example, if a woman comes up in a rape case and she's saying, oh, I had sex with that guy too, he was kind of rough with me, you can't ask that woman, what about the guy before, or who's the guy after that fucked you? Like, what's the next guy's name? Was he rough with you? You can't ask that. You can't be probative into her sexual history, and it's something that protects witnesses and victims. So they really want to say you was on Diddy's dick too, but they can't. So they're doing it in a roundabout way. All right, y'all kind of get it. I know y'all smart. Okay, it says when you met with me, that's 2024, so that's last year. you want to work for him, right? I said, we discussed it. Agnifilo says nothing further. So that's a drop mic moment. So he's done a pretty good job. I think he did a good job with her. He painted her as someone who may have had an interest in Diddy more than just protecting the brand and the enterprise. She liked Diddy. She cared for Diddy, and maybe she saw Cassie as competition. And it would probably even go into these other type of like inferences that you could make. If you like Diddy and Diddy is infatuated with Cassie, yeah, you don't want Diddy to kill Kid Cudi, but you're probably snitching to Diddy about Cassie. You get what I'm saying? Because you're hoping Diddy leaves Cassie for you. You get me? So that's why she's like, oh yeah. So they said, well, why did you go with him to Kid Cudi's house? You say you went to like make sure you didn't do nothing stupid. I ain't had a choice. But remember, she's a government witness, so she can't really just be like, oh, I love Diddy. Also, she's mad at Diddy. She got supposedly a previous settlement against Diddy, but she would have still worked for him last year. So it's one of those odd situations. So now there's a sidebar real quick. No, never mind. Yeah. So after it said nothing further, judge said, Ms. Steiner, this is for the redirect. Then it says, how much did Combs require to pay you? And the judge says, let's do a sidebar. Also, here's the thing. Again, remember, probative questions cannot really be asked about this woman, okay? So now, beyond, and this had to be a longer question because we know her salary was $65,000, right? The AUSA seems to be asking maybe about the settlement. How much was Combs required to pay you? I don't know if Diddy's team objected. I would imagine they would object, right? So we're probably missing a line here. And then the judge says, sidebar, yeah, you can't ask that. If she volunteers it, you can, but the other side could object, and we're not gonna allow her to say how much, or we're not gonna force her. Now, if she just says it is what it is, we're on the record. But to say how much Diddy paid her for a settlement or to get rid of a lawsuit, no, because remember, she's still considered, she's a witness and / a victim in a case that has to do with sex crimes. And these evidentiary rules that we keep hearing, Rule 403, rule this, is to protect those people and not allow for all type of things. You know what I mean? Like imagine a woman testifying in a case about sexual assault. She got raped, and allegedly, and now she's on the stand, right? And the defense comes up and says, "Didn't you catch chlamydia like 3,000 times before?" And now she got to answer to that, and she got to answer truthfully. Imagine if she had to reveal that she had chlamydia 3,000 times. So that not only fucks with the jury, it also puts victims at risk. So they have these rules where it's like, you can't ask about that. By the way, that's what I keep telling you. Supposedly there was a $5 million settlement for that escort who caught herpes. We've heard nothing about sexually transmitted diseases in this case. Reason being, none of that's going to be admitted, and also all of those are probative, right? Unless Diddy was charged with intentionally infecting somebody, which he wasn't. By the way, R. Kelly was charged for that in Chicago, I believe. So those things were on the record. But if you notice in here, the government didn't file any lawsuits, or not lawsuits. The government did not charge him with anything to do with an STD. That's why you hear no talk about STD, okay? Because at that point, you're exposing the victim or someone who's a potential witness, and they can't do that. So just to let you know why the line of question is going like this, right? Okay, cool. So they have a sidebar. Then the AOSA comes back and says, what happened with the job with Chris Lighty? Capricorn Clark says, remember, Chris Lighty was, with 50. Capricorn Clark says he died the day before I was supposed to start. Then at Interscope, it wasn't about a job. They told me to leave Puff alone. Damn, so it looked like Interscope hires her just to leave Puff alone. Remember, 50, who at the time, when did Chris Lighty die? Chris Lighty died in 2012. 50 Cent was still at Interscope, still had, a significant name. So it looked like Interscope was just saying, bro, like, listen, we'll give you 80 grand a year. Just don't go near Puff. And somehow they were realizing this person was either important, or they were just trying to dismantle Puff organization from, inside out, I guess. Okay. So Agnifilo says, I object. The judge actually sustained because, she's testifying that the reason why she was employed was for something else, and that's almost like damn near hearsay, you know what I mean? Cool. Okay. Capricorn Clark says, I was blacklisted. Agniflo says, objection. Judge says sustained, so he agrees. AUSA says, when did you return to work for Mrs. or Mr. Combs? Capricorn Clark says, so why? He says, so people could see I wasn't disposable. At this level of business, he held all the power. He says, well, why did you meet them? He says, to get my life back. So her thing is that Diddy held so much power in the game, she had to make a power move to go work for him. Again, to show she wasn't disposable, she couldn't just freely just go all over the place. She tried to go work for Chris Light. He died. Then they hired her at Interscope, but it was only, they didn't care about her work. They just wanted her not to work with Puff. And then she realized that she was going to be like either this lame duck collecting like some weak-ass check, or if she wanted to make an impact, which she thought she was a mover and a shaker, she had to go back to Diddy. That's her story. Okay? Holy. Holy, people. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Am I missing anything? No. Let me look at Fox 5 NY. Fox 5 NY. By the way, chat, we're not lagging, are we? We're definitely on 6 hours. Feels like 10 minutes, huh? Here we go.
Parliament, King Charles will outline.
Pretty mild at this.
Let me see. Yeah, some of the press has left. What do you call it? What's the name of this outlet? Fuck. Page 6. So there were so many people that were there. I think some of them have left. So Page 6 was posting who enters the court, who leaves the court. Look like they've stopped. Have they stopped? I think they've stopped. Yeah, we don't have the going into the. Yeah, why is it at every award show there's always like some lesbian shit going on? Like, ain't that like normal
Next
now?
week we're going to hear from people that were related to the Kid Cudi allegations that.
Okay. Capricorn Clark. That is an interesting one. By the way, chat, we don't know if they're going to, well, they didn't end at 3 today, so they're going to 5. So this week we're assuming they're going to be going to 5 o'clock the entire time. There is this idea of whether Diddy will testify. Now, that's a lingering question. Now, here's the thing. I think, number one, I don't think they're going to learn from Tory's trial, but it is one thing where it's like, if this thing is going south, you're going to have to throw a Hail Mary, right? If it's 4th and 35, you're going to have to do a Hail Mary. You can't go for the slant pass across the middle that's usually 15 yards and hoping that person catches it and runs the next 25. No, you have to address and be aware of what's going on. Now, if you ask me, I think it's close. Right now, Diddy doesn't take the stand, if you ask me. You don't put him on the stand. You put Diddy on the stand, they're going to brutally slaughter him. The AUSA is going to just make him look like a joke. They're going to make him look evil. They're going to have him apologize, and he's going to have to conjure up some tears. He can't look like, if he has any of the bravado that he's been having for 50 plus years, if he looks pompous, he's like, yo, like no, it's just not going to work. So if it's close, you don't put him there. If he's down by 30 and you need the fucking juggernaut, yeah, you're going to have to. Right now, I don't think you put him on there at all. I don't know if anyone agrees with me. I could try to let's see if we can get some people to weigh in on that, because I don't see Diddy taking a stand at all. Let me see. Any more people addressing this? Yeah, I don't see it happening. Let me see. Come on, let's go. Let me see. Diddy take the stand? I don't see it happening. Yeah, I can't see it happening. I just want to see, like, I usually defer to the lawyers. By the way, this was the update about the Kaplan nigga right here. So this is George Kaplan, I believe.
This
And
Is that
then
him?
Sean Combs being violent for him to talk about sort of this violence that he saw. So I thought that was very interesting that he did so much of the sort of other side to what we've been hearing about in court. Scott Muscady, aka Kid Cudi, he corroborated some of this is getting.
All right, yeah, we should address that and try to should he take the stand?
Today in Sean, her hair loss. NBC's Chloe.
By the way, she's also claiming, not only lost wages. Remember, she said $80,000 that she didn't get paid. That HR claim she should have got paid for overtime. Keep in mind, these were salary workers who, according to labor laws, after a certain amount of hours of them working, they're entitled to overtime pay, right? And actually, there's a lot of penalties. I think in certain states they'll fine you up to $250,000 or $100,000 if you on a pattern or you grievously or egregiously actually just ignore the fact that these people are, hey, after a certain amount of hours of work, you're supposed to pay them overtime. And if you don't pay them overtime, you're violating labor laws. You get what I'm saying?
The loss is outside the courthouse for us. Take us through the latest from court, Chloe.
Hey there, Chris. Well, I was inside the courthouse this morning listening to this riveting testimony from Capricorn Clark. And one of the reasons why it was so fascinating to listen to is because this is someone who has known Sean Combs since about 2002. They were initially friends, and then she held various roles working for Sean Combs. She worked for him on and off for about 14 years. And she took us to a time in December of 2011, and we heard musician Kid Cudi talk about this last week, when Sean Combs learned that his girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, at the time was cheating on him with Kid Cudi, and that Combs was so incensed that he actually allegedly showed up to Capricorn Clark's apartment with a gun, and he told her, "You have to come with me right now. We're going to kill Kid Cudi." A quote from her is, he just said, "Get dressed. We're going to kill Miss Cudi." And then the gun was in his hand, and that's when they got into a black Escalade, and they went to Kid Cudi's home, and Kid Cudi wasn't there. We heard him testify about this last week, but there are some more illuminating details about the fact.
Okay, so this is Capricorn Clark now, huh?
That
or
we
maybe not now, but maybe a few years ago.
Didn't know that there was a car chase between the two of them, so we're hearing a more complete picture. But then she went on to say something where, you couldn't even hear a pin drop. It was so silent. All of the individuals that were watching this testimony is when Capricorn Clark said that after this incident at Kid Cudi's home, they returned to Sean Combs' home, and Cassie Ventura was now there. And Combs was so upset that she actually had a burner phone, that she had been secretly having this relationship with Kid Cudi, that he began to violently beat her, and that he was kicking her over and over in front of herself, Capricorn Clark, and someone else from Combs' security team, that she was in a fetal position, and he kicked her with full force from the front door all the way to the street, and that she was so concerned for Cassie Ventura's safety that she called several members of Combs' security team, begging them to intervene.
Yeah, it is interesting testimony when she says, "I couldn't call certain people," and I guess this is after she called D-Rock asking for Ruben to step in, and she called Uncle Paulie. Nobody's stepping in or saying, "Yo, stop Diddy from, assaulting Cassie." She then calls Cassie's mom. Interesting enough, because Cassie's mom took the stand already. It would have been an interesting cross to figure out what that meant, right?
To call Combs and get him to stop, and that at that point that she saw that no one was intervening, she claims to have called Cassie Ventura's mother, Regina Ventura, who we also heard from last week on the stand, but we didn't hear this story, Chris, that Capricorn Clark called.
Now, I've seen somebody on Kick, Tips Trolling, says, is he on trial for domestic violence? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. It's starting to now spill over to more than domestic violence. We know that Diddy beat his bitch. That's not the point. The point is that there was almost an agreement of everyone that says if Diddy is being violent, and it could be made the argument that he's using the violence to keep people in line and to keep people in a sense of hopelessness and dependency, that his workers will not intervene or will look the other way to the point that she got to call her mom. or Cassie's mom. That's kind of the argument here, right? So when you're hearing domestic violence now, they're not just keep bringing up, oh, he beat her. We know that. What they're bringing up is that people assisted in the beating. Number one, when Diddy said, bring her here, he would have workers bring the woman to him. When he would assault the woman, the workers would stand idly by and be unwilling to help. Even if they were speaking among themselves, they all were unwilling to help. So that goes into something where, you know, even if it's out of fear for your own job, it goes into an organizational structure of allowing crimes to be committed. And that's why these people are probably testifying, because they all got proffers that says, we're not going to charge you as part of the organization because we get it. You were scared for your job. But by the very definition, your job and your inaction, or you being at his ready disposal, helped him do these crimes. And again, that becomes much more than what domestic violence is. That becomes into, you know, when you think about sex trafficking, you got to think about, it's usually sex trafficking by fraud, force, or coercion, right? And you could coerce somebody by saying, hey, I got a secret against you. If you don't do this, I'm going to put it out. I got a sex tape against you. If you don't do this, I'm going to put it out. Hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to put hands on you. Hey, if you don't do this, I'm not paying your bills. Those are things or methods of coercion. Fraud would obviously be lying, or, deception to a certain magnitude. And obviously, force would clearly mean fuck him right now or else I'm beating your ass, right? I don't think this is necessarily force, but I think coercion is what they're trying to prove more than force. But it could be interpreted as force if you think that, we haven't heard of this yet. Let's say Cassie didn't want to do a freak off. And shit, I might think that's the March 6th video, or March whenever it is, 2016 video though, where Diddy beat her. Yeah, if you beat somebody to return to the room to go get in a freak off, that would be sex trafficking. Yes, I mean not necessarily sex trafficking, but that would be force. All you got to then prove is that you're moving this person from place to place for the purpose of a commercial sex act. Okay. All right. Somebody says he shouldn't be the only one on trial. Then that's what Tips also said. Pause. Well, here's the thing. They want Diddy. So everybody else, if they realize their case against everybody else, all the employees, all the security guards, all the assistants, if their idea is that it's not like y'all wanted to commit a crime with him, most of y'all were doing it because that was your job, and you also were in a system where nobody was raising a hand or blowing a whistle. Yeah, you were just kind of doing it out of a habit. So this we won't prosecute you as long as you will testify. That's why these people are testifying. I don't think they're testifying because they think Diddy's a bad person. I think they're testifying because that's the only way they have gotten out of charges. I think they've only gotten out of charges based on, the only thing is, if I'm the defense attorney, I would have brought that up for every witness. Hey, do you have a deal with the government? Now, the only reason why I think they're not bringing it up is because we usually see them remind people that someone has a proffer or some type of immunity deal when it's a very clear thing that a crime was committed, right? Diddy's team is saying there is no crime. Like, for example, if we're in a drug ring and you used to be the person who bagged up the coke, and now you're testifying against me and I'm the plug, my lawyer's going to say, hey, you have an immunity deal, right? And it's going to say, okay, you're going to have to say yes. Or you've met with the government, blah, blah. This is going to be part of your stipulation. Have you sold drugs? Like, at that point, that person is willingly in your organization. They're snitching on you, right? So you want to bring it up when somebody's really snitching. In this situation, these people, you're going to look bad in front of a jury trying to convince them that the assistant was trying to set up a sex trafficking ring. No, they're all basically saying, we wanted to keep our jobs. We were scared that we were going to lose our jobs. So that's why they're not charged. They probably all got proffers, though. They probably got threatened with charges, but they got proffers, okay? Okay, all right. Let's get back to the tweets. All right. Cool. Here we go. It says, in the kidnapping, did Mr. Combs carry a gun? Capricorn Clark says, yes. Wait. Yes. The judge says, jurors, I know we've kept you longer than I said. Thank you. See you tomorrow. All rise. So now the judge says, tomorrow, what are we doing? AUSA says we'll do LAPD, LAFD, which is going to be the Los Angeles Fire Department. That's going to be Jimenez. We're going to have Nash and Mia. Mia is also a personal assistant. That's going to be 3 personal assistants. Don't know who Nash is. We'll figure out who that is. Agnifilo says, what about the VTC with Mr. Combs in the MDC Brooklyn jail? Judge says there's a logistical difficulties in the evening. They believe they're being flexible. He says we get cut off after 5:30. So this is the argument that, by the way, so they've been trying to end trial all the time at 3. Okay? And by the way, it's to show you they overestimated this time of the whole trial because, trial's done for the day. So they've overestimated how long this trial is going to take because it should have been going from 9 to 5. Now it's 9 to 3. The judge at first said to not get the jurors burnt out, but we also get to realize that Agnifilo has brought up an argument to say there's so much evidence and they're trying to do so much prep. They could have VTC is like a voice call-in system that they could have with Diddy, and they're basically saying, hey, we can't get to talk to our client after he's remanded out of here because every day when they take Diddy out of the court and they got to bring him back to jail. They're saying by the time we get back to jail, we can't talk to him. Like there's no way to talk to him because he's cut off for the day. We can't really prep with him as we're going through the trial, so we could only meet with him in the morning, and it's whenever y'all bring him. We want to be able to talk to him after this thing. So they're getting out at 3. They're also now bringing up that they can't talk to him after 5:30. Again, Garrigo says the legal minutes cut off when MDC legal is not there. The other calls are capped at 300 minutes. They are filtered. Judge says, let me work on that. There's union issues with the VTC in the evening. Okay, so they want the judge to make a order that Diddy could speak to his attorney for longer periods of time. And judges do have that authority, even though his presence and his movements is controlled by the jail. If the judge says he has to be able to speak with his attorney until 8 o'clock, they're going to allow it. So that's what they're pushing for, that they could get more prep time. And, obviously, again, Diddy nobody would like being locked up, that they could kind of figure this out. All right? Cool. Okay. Cool. It appears that I don't know if Capricorn Clark is finished because there might be a recross. This was the redirect. If there's going to be a recross, she would come back for a short time in the morning. If not, even though it looks like based on the schedule, tomorrow they're going LAPD officer. It's probably going to be an officer that responded to one of these incidents, maybe the break-in or, the cop that drove past when there was a chase with Kid Cudi and Diddy. LAFD, which is Los Angeles Fire Department, which they came in for the arson investigation. That's going to be Jimenez. Nash, I don't know who that is, and Mia is another personal assistant. By the way, keep in mind, I know you guys keep saying what organization. They're basically claiming Bad Boy Records is the criminal organization. They'll now bring 3, either 3 or 4, actually. This will be the 3rd or 4th personal assistant of Diddy's that's taking a stand. So the entire case around him is using personal assistants, other than victims like Cassie. We expect bodyguards to jump in, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a driver. We have seen a few sex workers, the Punisher, and Jules. Okay? All right. Somebody said they want to burn the jury out. Well, yeah. Okay. So that is happening as we speak. Give me a second. All right. Okay. So court is done for today. I thought that was interesting. Let me see. What the hell? Diddy with Cassie Diddy did an interview with Cassie on Revolt? I didn't know they used to do things together like that. Have y'all seen a Diddy and Cassie interview? Diddy Cassie interview.
It has a lot to do with
She used to wear her hair like this to cover the eyes?
your presence at a late and, how well you're respected with the people that you're working with. And I put out a lot of...
Yeah, you can't see that eye. Oh, wow. This is interesting as shit.
We want to find out what qualities in a guy Cassie thinks makes for a good lover or a total loser.
Wait. DC Young Fly was on MTV 7 years ago? Yo, time is flying. I feel like it was only like 3 years ago.
We're going to shout out some descriptions.
Matter of fact, come to figure it out. Like, I was on Everyday Struggle 8 years ago. Damn, Chad, we getting old.
Cassie is down with it. She going to say, he's a lover. And if she don't like it, he's a loser. You ready?
I'm ready.
I was born ready.
I was born ready. Ready to go.
Up first,
I'll ski.
what if he's a mama's boy? Lover or loser?
Okay, all right. Anyway, give me 1 second.
Life that he's been involved with, and I look at what happened to him. I look at what happened to Liam Payne from One Direction, again a band that I knew quite well. I look at what happened with Michael Jackson to Justin Bieber.
Okay, not there.
We want to find out what qualities in a...
By the way, Dawn Richards, 12 Days in Italy? This is 7 years ago. Yo, Diddy's, like, for all the recording Diddy did, I think he must have thought that none of this shit was illegal, right? Let me see the most popular shit he's done. These are music videos. Give me a second. I gotta go check on my dog's chat. Give me 1 second, though. I'm gonna play something for y'all. Narrow, close. Diddy Cassie vacation. Look at my hat, man. You think I'm out here playing? Look at my hat. You know?
Deleon Don right here.
All right, give me a second. I'm about to go check on Pluto.
Come here, baby.
Yeah.
Back up. That feel good, right? Woo. See what got all up in my nose. Go get my hat for me? I'm doing more things in life that, maybe I have fears of, Sometimes you gotta just jump. Jump. You can do anything you put your mind to, baby. Jump. One, two, three.
I gotta catch myself. I can't blame myself. I need to win. Big old dreams in real life.
Hey, yo, Ron, what'd you say you did?
Oh, man, I'm playing my game. I'm jet skiing. I'm ordering stuff that I'm making up, and it's happening, I'm enjoying it. Look around, look. Look at this.
Me out here working and shit. They always going to have a brother out here working. Now me working.
Trying to ball out.
Man, I'm about to start balling. For real, my vacation about to start. I can't post none of this shit. It's too much balling. Sir? Sir. You know you're in the right place if you got to deserve. Just look happy, Jimmy. Just wave. OG.
Oh shit.
Yeah, let's get that money.
Yeah, but
Yeah! Woo!
Albert.
my name is Derek Roche from North Carolina.
French, yeah. Hey, yo, so I got a big announcement. Whatever it is. Look at that, hey.
Cut your part. That's day 3.
My thing is.
Did y'all see Cassie on this shit or no? If Cassie's not on it, is that Jimmy Iovine? That's Jimmy Iovine. Is Cassie here? That's Cassie, right?
They really did. I'm saying. Shout out to real hustlers, you know what I'm saying? People that are dependable, responsible, intelligent.
You deserve it, daddy. Pause. All right, all good. All good. All right, so chat, it appears that court is over. It appears. But we're going to get the updates on what, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I really think that the Capricorn Clark testimony could go both ways. Like, she gave really important information that could really make Diddy look a little crazy. But I'm going to be honest with you. I do believe if you look at it in a different context, which I think the defense has their hand tied behind their back. They can't make those points because, you know, people say they're victims. So we're going to see how that kind of turns out. We're waiting on Lauren. Oh, she just dropped some shit.
Trial day 10 afternoon update with the testimony of Capricorn Clark. I want to go back to the morning just to a couple things.
Yo, Lauren, well, she knows we watch her on here. Lauren, I'm going to keep it a bean with you. I can tell you spending a little extra time on the makeup every day. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can tell Lauren know people looking at her.
Things that I want to add for some context. Now, after the incident with Kid Cudi and Cassie and Capricorn Clark, she testified that Diddy said to her that he should kill her and that he should, quote, cut Cassie's face. So she was just detailing threats, and she detailed a couple more as well. She also said that she told bad boy president at the time, Harv Pierre, about this, and he said something like, whoa, that's crazy, but, you know, don't worry about it. She also said, okay. So there was another incident that happened at Diddy's house, and Capricorn Clark described that she was in the kitchen with Lauren London and Diddy and...
Y'all horny as hell. Somebody say, yo, Act, she not single. Somebody's driving her. Bro. She's just a friend to the show, man. Look at y'all. Y'all horny.
The chef was kind of, you know, working in the kitchen. But
I heard what Dr. Umar said, man. We're not crossing party lines right now.
Wasn't part of this conversation. And Diddy said something along the lines of, you know why you guys don't have a man like me? And they were like, huh? And he called Cassie into the kitchen and he basically said, you know, walk over there. Now walk back. Now pick this up. Now give it to me. Now put it back. Spin in a circle. Told her to do all this stuff. And he goes, okay, now leave. And when she left, he just said, you know, that's because you bitches won't do stuff like that. That's why you don't have a man. So
what?
And they were like, huh? And Diddy and the chef was okay. So there was another incident that happened at Diddy's house, and Capricorn Clark described that she was in the kitchen with Lauren London and Diddy, and the chef was kind of, you know, working in the kitchen but wasn't part of this conversation. And Diddy said something along the lines of, you know why you guys don't have a man like me? And they were like, huh? And he called Cassie into the kitchen and he basically said, you know, walk over there. Now walk back. Now pick this up. Now give it to me. Now put it back. Spin in a circle. Told her to do all this stuff. And he goes, okay, now leave. And when she left, he just said, you know, that's because you bitches won't do stuff like that. That's why you don't have a man. So I'm trying to think. Okay, so then before we left off, before lunch, I guess, I was discussing that Mark Agnifilo had stated that Capricorn Clark had a meeting with himself and Tenny Garagos, and this was in April of 2024 when there was an investigation underway into Diddy, and that Capricorn Clark had discussed possibly coming back to work for him as his chief of staff. And according to Mark Agnifilo, he said, well, you're aware that he's under criminal investigation right now, so that job probably wouldn't work out. And he said, do you remember saying, like, if I was there or if he was under my watch, this wouldn't have happened? And she said she didn't really remember saying that. She also testified that she witnessed his drug use get worse over times as she witnessed Cassie's get worse. And he also made sure to say that she had her lawyer present for this meeting, and her lawyer is Brian Friedman. Many of you guys know Brian Friedman. He is the lawyer of Justin Baldoni, Perez Hilton, among some other big names, Megyn Kelly, I think. So during cross-examination, Mark Agnifilo said, hey, are you sure that you didn't tell the government that whole thing with Cassie in the kitchen, it wasn't Lorianne Gibson, it was Lauren London? And she said, no, I'm sure. And he's like, okay. And he shows her a transcript, and she looks, and she's like, well, that had to be a mistake. I definitely didn't say Lorianne Gibson, who is a choreographer, by the way. He then elicits testimony from Capricorn Clark that she didn't think that Cassie was necessarily good for Sean Combs. She thought they were toxic as a couple. She also said, let me see. Yeah, they were toxic. Then she was shown a text that she wrote him, or an email, and Mark Agnifilo said, do you remember kind of saying to Diddy that you had a crush on him at one point? And she's like, I do not remember that. And then he showed her a very not that old, it was from 2021, where she texted him that she had a crush on him back in the day when they first met, and reference that they called him Chalk, like chocolate for short. What else? Sorry, I'm flipping through my notes. Okay. So, then we go to the Kid Cudi section of this, and this is where things got a little hairy, I want to say. So Mark Agnifilo asks Capricorn Clark how Diddy got into her house, and they had this whole conversation about security guards and how this one security guard got fired because Diddy kind of demanded that he be let in the building, and this guy let him in. And Mark Agnifilo was like, so you didn't get his name, you don't know who he was, but he got fired? And she's like, yeah, I don't know his name, sorry. And then he basically says, did he point this gun at you at all when he was in the house? And she says, no. And he says, well, did you tell the government that he pointed it at you? And she said, no, I said that he waved it around, and but that was it. And then he shows a transcript, and she says, well, it's wrong, because I guess it did say he pointed it at her. And then she talks about, or we know that she called Cassie's burner phone now from the driveway at Kid Cudi's house. And by the way, Mark Agnifilo was very focused on how Diddy was able to get into Kid Cudi's house, or through the door. And he was asking Capricorn Clark, like, well, you're scared, you're supposed to be watching him because you want to make this phone call. How do you not know how he got in the door? Because she said she didn't really see how he got in, if he opened it, if he, whatever.
Remember, there was no sign of forced entry. So either he had a key. Sorry, I thought he got a key from Cassie, because Cassie backdoored Cudi. But this might suggest otherwise. Maybe it was a code.
And she just said she was so scared. And she also testified that during this break-in that Diddy came out back and forth a few times while his security guard, Rube, stayed inside. And sorry, she calls him Puff. I mean, they refer to him as Mr. Combs, but I apologize if I go back and forth with these names. So then Mark Agnifilo says, are you sure you didn't call Lauren London before you called Cassie's burner phone? And she's like, I am absolutely sure I did not call Lauren London. And they go on about this for a while. And, she she says, well, okay, yes, I called her before I called Kid Cudi. And Mark Agnifilo is like, wait, you said that you were so scared because you were thinking to yourself, well, what if Kid Cudi is in the house for this robbery? You know, you want to quote unquote save his life, but you called Lauren London before? And she's like, yeah. And then they go back and forth. And then she actually goes, well, wait, you know, maybe, because he says, are you sure that Lauren London wasn't on a three-way call with you and Cassie when you called her? And she's like, no, I called her before. And then all of a sudden she just goes, well, maybe Lauren London was on the call while I called Cassie. And so then she's sitting there thinking and saying, well, maybe she was on the call. So that was kind of a big moment that she basically said maybe her testimony wasn't correct. And then we go back to the gun. And when she called Cassie and Kid Cudi was in the background, Cassie put it on speaker. They said, did you tell them that Diddy had a gun? And she said, yes, like I'm sure I told them that. And he said, well, what did Kid Cudi say? And she said that Kid Cudi said, oh, what? They're in my house? And, Agnifilo was like, well, wait, he wouldn't be concerned about the gun? Like that whole thing? He just kind of elicited that. And then we talked about the high-speed chase. That was kind of questionable. She said that it was very short. She said they went up a hill, and Agnifilo was like, well, the only way to, get off of that hill or is to come down the exact same way. And she's like, no, that's not correct. And he's like, well, here's a map. There's a bunch of dead ends. And she's like, that's not right. And then, when she got back to Kid Cudi's house later that night, when she went over there with Cassie, she said that ADT was there. There was a security guard there. She saw a police car somewhere. And Agnifilo's like, so you didn't go to the police and say, hey, I was kidnapped before? And she said no. She also said that in the summer of 2012, I'm skipping ahead, she was fired at that point, but someone from the arson department at LAPD called her and asked her about an alleged arson, which she said she knew nothing about to us, but she said she hung up on this police officer and didn't talk to him. And Agnifilo kind of harped on that for a minute. But then they go back to her vacation and why she got fired a few months later. She tells us that she was on vacation with Rihanna, actually. And he said, well, you're upset about being fired because you didn't want to be fired. And she said, no. Oh, and he also showed us an email that she sent about 2 weeks after this kidnapping, where she was just doing business as usual. He was just pointing that out. Then we saw a lot of emails and texts from Capricorn Clark to Diddy, basically from 2014 to 2015, basically her saying that she hopes that he forgives her. And that was a big moment. And she says this a couple times. And she says that, your grace period of being mad at me has exceeded, LOL. She also talked about, and this is before lunch, I forgot to bring this up, that she was actually traumatized when she saw Cassie's 2023 lawsuit because she wasn't mentioned. And Agnifilo got her to say things about Cassie, that she didn't think she was very talented. And she ends up crying on the stand and saying that, Diddy only let her go because of Cassie and then hired her back because of Cassie, essentially, and said that she was hurt because Diddy only took her back, in 2016 because Cassie wanted him to. So she kind of felt hurt by this because, yeah, it wasn't up to Diddy. He did what Cassie said.
Okay. All right. So really today was Capricorn Clark's day. She's the only one who was on the stand today. Only person on the stand. What we're going to have to start doing in trying to break down or analyze how we should view the day is, did the prosecutor hit a slam dunk or did the defense throw up enough, misdirections to be able to say the story wasn't that clear? And I have to imagine, I know some people want full exposures, for example, Dawn Rashard, I think she got exposed on the stand. She got exposed. We're not going to get many of those, though. We're probably going to get a good mix of somebody has a point, their government's witness, and we get to hear their story is inconsistent. We don't know if they probably got the order wrong, or we get to realize they have an axe to grind, or hey, they themselves may have some different feeling in the sense of, oh, they used to like Diddy. They don't like Cassie now. Obviously, that wouldn't be the case because there'll be a government's witness. But we will get these mixed emotions about people on the stand, not just full on slam dunks. And for me, I do believe that's why Diddy's legal team are trying to say we can't have too many people telling the same story, because they're doing a good job of trying to say you're unreliable, you felt like this, you're just mad because of this. Yo, how do you feel like this, but you still wanted a job last year? But it's only so much, and I keep saying it's only so much a jury is gonna believe before they start saying, man, all these niggas ain't lying. Like, they might have a detail or two off, but they're kind of describing this guy correctly. And now let me just go with the majority description. Let's see if that fits into the crime. That could lead to a conviction for him, even though I think the jury instructions are going to be clear. If there's something or a testimony that is hazy or you don't believe all the way, you can't use those things. But again, remember, it's people. The jury's made up of a bunch of people, not actually robots. So anyway. All right, waiting on Lauren to see whenever she's going to get out. Let me see. Lauren crimes. Yeah, and there's, let me see. Anybody?
Sean Diddy comes to court each day and is telling us what.
Okay, so this is his behavior in court. So Diddy comes in court every day, he throws up a symbol. Supposedly he goes like this or something like this, and he throws up the heart symbol and he waves to like family. But family hasn't been there for everything. And by the way, the amount of press is kind of dwindling a bit. But they are analyzing his body language to see what he's doing. Check this out.
There is only a handful of people who actually know what Sean Combs now looks like since his arrest in September 2024. He's been in jail since his arrest, and cameras aren't allowed in the courtroom for his sex trafficking and racketeering trial. But we have a pretty good idea that the Sean Combs that's showing up in court each day looks...
So the Diddy and Cassie situation is getting freakier and freakier by the day. The more and more I hear about these allegations, Diddy is a freaky man, the king of the freak-offs. And Cassie, you feel me, she was young, vulnerable. But like what Ak said, she could have left. Like, Diddy was not holding her. Well, this is what's hard for me. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't holding her hostage, but she said on the video that came out in the hotel where he hit her over and drug her back, she was trying to leave one of the freak-offs. And Diddy said, oh no, you're not going to leave the freak-offs. You got it. Yeah. Wait till the dude, bust a nut, allegedly. Then all over you, then scrape it off, go in the other room and rub it on my nipples. That's what he wanted. It sounds so crazy to say, but that's what Diddy wanted. Like, we seen him in the robe. I thought he was just fresh out the shower, but allegedly he was probably butt naked. I'm surprised there was no baby oil on her or him, or she wiped it off. That's why he was so mad it was no baby oil on. Hey, man. I genuinely feel bad for Cassie. I feel bad for her husband, too, because he has to be in court and he's listening to all these things. And I don't really think Cassie's lying about anything. Like, Cassie just seems like a nice girl, probably, like, gentle, innocent, like, and she just wanted a career. Like, man, I'm struggling here because I want to be very, very honest about everything, like, my point of view. I don't think Diddy was the best of best people, and I think everything he did to Cassie was wrong, and it was definitely manipulative and all that stuff. But, like, is it sex trafficking, though? Like, this is what he's charged for. Like, domestic violence, yes. Assault, yes. Like, probably a bunch of other crazy stuff, yes. But sex trafficking, bro, I don't know if you could say he was sex trafficking. But it's only day 2 of the trial. And I'm gonna be very, very unbiased about every single thing I say. It's day 2 of the trial. Diddy is he's there every day. They say that he's looking white as hell, he's gray as hell. He's, you feel me? They said he was looking at Cassie the whole time. But day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe 2 weeks later, there might be someone else taking the stand, and we don't know how that's gonna go. Maybe like 3 days later, there's gonna be a new person taking the stand, and they just expose everything about Diddy. Like, we don't know fully everything Diddy's done yet. Like, there might have been men that he was having free calls with. Like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, Act was the line about what he said. Diddy should just came out and said that he was a flexible, bro. He should just said he was bisexual, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie. And what Act said, bro, all these rappers gotta come out who was around Diddy, like really, really hung around Diddy and was like really cool with him. They need to come out and like, yeah, yeah, bro. You gotta defend yourself, your integrity. You feel me? But your boy Big Act News. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And do you feel like Diddy's innocent, or do you feel like he's guilty? And we're talking about sex trafficking. Like, we're not talking about is he a good person or not. Do you think he's guilty of sex trafficking, Cassie? It's your boy Big Act News, and I'm out.